Hey, welcome to Sports and Politics with T. I'm your host, Tanya. Tonight we have made it back to Thursday, guys. Listen, I hope everybody is enjoying their week so far. We are already getting done with the third week of August, guys. Let's give it up. Yes, we are moving right along in the month. One more week and a half. And guess what, guys? It will be September. Labor Day is less than 2 weeks away, and I'm telling you guys, we all know that Labor Day marks the end of summer, okay? So if you got some things that you want to do, or some things that you want to get done while the weather is still nice, guess what? In these next 2 to 3 weeks, it's going to be off the chain, all right? But tonight, guys, again, I hope everybody is enjoying themselves this week. We are already going to talk about a lot of hot topics for tonight. The first thing that we're going to talk about is with CNN. Scott Jennings, we all know, is a CNN pundit who's regularly on that show stirring up more and more controversy. We're definitely going to take a look at that. Also, later on in the show, we're going to be talking about Alina Habba, who is a senator, actually a judge, and U.S. Attorney General, that actually is saying now that people are saying that she is not lawfully supposed to be serving as the U.S. Attorney right now. And guess who appointed her in that position? Your president, not my president, your president, Donald J. Trump. So we're going to look at the controversy behind her, because what they're saying is that legally and lawfully, she's not supposed to be in that seat at all right? And also, later on in the show, we're going to talk about Jasmine Crockett, who's a representative. She's going to tell you how she feels about the redistricting of Texas and some of the things that Donald Trump is doing that she just definitely disagrees about. And so we're going to listen to that at the end of the show. So let's go ahead and get started for tonight. Again, the first thing is going to be through Couch Politics. This is one of the channels that I like to watch on YouTube. But we're going to talk about this segment. Once it's over, I'm going to give you my 2 cents, and we're going to break this video down once it's complete.
So we're going to ignore these stupid white hippies that all need to go home and take a nap because they're all over 90 years old.
Look at the three MAGA stooges, Baldy, Drunky, and Pudgy. And is Stephen Miller really saying this? Stupid white hippies coming from Fascist Powder, the movie, if you know who Powder is, the white dude superhero. Never mind, it's a pretty old movie.
Today's visit illustrates a stark divide between the Trump administration and D.C. residents. As city crime stats show that violence is declining, Trump has said that those numbers are fake. And new polling also now shows roughly 8 in 10 oppose Trump's takeover. But Vance, like his boss, is not believing that data either.
I'm highly skeptical that a majority of D.C. residents don't want their city to have better public safety and more reasonable safety standards within Washington, D.C.
Actually, let me chime in before they get going. Remember, we saw on last Monday to be exact, where we actually listened to the governor or the mayor of Washington, D.C., who was a black lady, and she stated that actually Washington, D.C. crime rate is actually at a 30-year low, okay? So again, they're deploying the National Guard to oversee patrol of Washington, D.C., as if to say it's a war zone, or like the crime is just out of control, it's just through the roof. And notice is always where minorities are. They never look at the Republican states as if to say there's no crime in those states, right? But as you can see, this is J.D. Vance, Vice President J.D. Vance speaking, and the residents are mad right now. As you can see, it says 80% of D.C. residents oppose Trump's policies because it doesn't make any sense. Why are you deploying the National Guard? Okay, I mean, that's just like putting the army to patrol a city when the crime rate has actually gone down, and it's at an all-time low at that. So again, this is just ridiculous. But let's keep listening.
So now it doesn't matter, Scott Jennings, that voters are not happy with what Trump's doing, don't feel safer, all of that.
I don't care what they think. I mean, these are the same people who elected the mayor and city council that ran the city's public safety into the ground in the first place.
You don't care what the residents...
They don't know what's good for them.
You don't care
No,
what the
I don't.
residents of D.C. think.
I do not. I do not care one bit, and I'll tell you
I
something
feel
else.
like I do remember just a couple weeks ago you were saying, well, secretly, D.C. residents really want this because they know the crime is so bad. Now we actually have the numbers that say, will Trump's federal takeover reduce violent crime? 65% say no, just 20% say yes. Do you feel like the presidents of federal officers makes you feel safer, more safe, 18%, less safe, 61%?
Why would they say that? They're out arresting criminals. They're arresting illegal aliens. They're getting illegal guns off the streets. An MS-13 illegal alien was taken out off the streets the other night. They're obviously safer, but you know, there's another population that cares about public safety in D.C. It's all the people who visit there. We have people that go there, millions of people from all over the country. They deserve to go to a national capital that's not in disgrace and despair, and that's what they're doing in Washington. So I don't really care about what they think, truthfully.
Let me let Lindsay, because
Who does God think he is? Who cares what you think? You are infinitely insignificant. That's the nicest way I can say that. I don't care what the citizens of DC think. These are the people that talk about freedom. They live there, you prick. He doesn't care because they are targeting people he doesn't like. Scott, you visit DC when you want to sit on Trump's lap while he plays with you.
I mean, it's true. It's like his lapdog or something. He always stands up for Donald Trump, no matter what. Like I said, he never disagrees with him at all. It's like, I understand you may like him, but there should be some times where you just can't agree with every little thing. This guy right here, Scott Jennings, is a puppet to the 15th power, okay? And I'm dead serious. Like, he's one of his lapdogs that he just strokes and strokes and strokes over and over and over again. It's ridiculous.
Here, and tells you how much of a good boy you're on TV. Good boy. You think the people of DC care what you think? You live somewhere in Kentucky. You're just another racist conservative. Who cares what the hell you think? And you see, every time he mentions crime, every time crime is talked about, it's racism, Tourette's flare up. Illegal alien immigrants, Hispanic, MS-13, Mexican cartels, blah, blah, blah. This is, guys, I'm still researching this mental disorder and working on a remedy, a legal one at least.
Hey, if you live...
And that's true. I mean, they're never going to see it our way. He doesn't even live in D.C. You know what I'm saying? And in fact, none of them probably live in D.C. They're all up in New York or Atlanta as far as where CNN headquarters is. But still, it's the fact that it's just that mentality. You know, it's like I said, it's not that they can't do it. They just don't want to come to terms with it. So, but anyway, let's keep going.
In one of these cities right here, why don't you own an apartment building? Seriously, let me show you a...
he actually lives in D.C. Well, in the D.C. area, let's put it that way.
Yeah, listen, I live in the DMV area. I'm from the area. And listen, you can talk about the numbers that you all have reported on, that crime has come down over the years. And yes, there are people who have felt individual instances. But the bigger issue that a lot of folks are talking about in D.C. is this over-policing of Black communities, Black and brown communities. And we're seeing this as part of a bigger picture of what the Trump administration is doing across the country. And so it's actually not making people feel safer. There are a lot of people who are staying home. Restaurants are feeling it, and people are really concerned. And so I actually disagree with the statement that people don't know what they need when the city has actually come together and started voting people in office to help bring crime down.
Let's talk about legally. So the Home Rule Act of 1973 gave the president the authority to have rule over the National Guard in D.C. There's also a section in there, Section 740, that allowed him and gave him authority over the police department in D.C. if he declares an emergency. He, in fact, on August 11th, declared an emergency. So legally, he has the ability to do this. So how do we address, everybody wants to be safer and feel safer. How do we address that point? But also address the point that you brought up where certain people are being targeted.
Yep.
I think this is a situation where we have to hope that the people that are deployed there understand that it's on them to make sure that they police fairly. that they treat people fairly, because the general at the top may have an idea of why he wants people to be there, but we have to, in an effort to bring crime down, say these National Guards that are legally deployed there treat people fairly. You're supposed to be there as a deterrent. You shouldn't be making arrests. They don't really have the authority to do that. They don't have the authority to police the streets. That's not what the National Guard does. So stay hands off, act as a deterrent. If the numbers come down, that's better for everybody. If the streets are safer, but do it in a manner that you're not targeting people.
I got to jump in on this, though. I've got 30 years of military service. A lot of that was in the National Guard. I have been activated for civil disturbance before. And the training that the Guard guys get is designed to actually put them on the streets with minimum show of force, use of force. They know what to do and how to do it, and they are fully supervised in what they do. And I feel very confident that the people they're targeting are not of a certain demographic, they're not of a certain skin color. What they're targeting, there's criminals. That's exactly what they are there right now to provide a deterrent. And the police force is absolutely in favor of this. The police union is ecstatic over this. If you look at it, Mayor Bowser herself is really not resisting this. In fact, I think she welcomes it.
But I think, let me ask you a question, because you mentioned your...
Even someone who lives in the proximity of the DC resident there, like, these people don't listen to anyone. You guys don't live there. What do you know? Of course it's about going after black and brown people. It's always about that. Always. Racism, again, is foundational, the nucleus of the Republican Party. It's the creme de la creme. The issue is, of course, crime rates will probably come down if you brought in the Army and the Marines. Of course it would. My thing is, at what cost? Not financially, but to people's psyche and overall sense of freedom and safety. How safe do you feel if there's thousands of cops and cop cars and trucks and tanks, whatever the hell they have? The perception of it doesn't look so safe, does it? Like 8 out of 10 of those of DC residents want them to get the F out because.
Well, I'm sorry, I wanted to stop there because, I mean, if you think about it, it's almost like, of course everybody wants to be safe, and we're not saying that. The problem is they're only targeting black minority-run cities, okay? And that's what you have the regular police department, the Washington, D.C. District of Columbia Police Department. You don't need the National Guard, okay? Number one, people, and he's right, people is not going to feel more safe. In fact, I think they'll feel more scared because you just deploy the military to police a city. You know, I mean, just think you walked outside in a shopping center and you saw the military just right in a parking lot, and they're just patrolling. You don't know if these people are going to war. You don't know if they're finna get right to shoot. You don't know. It to me, again, it's just so unnecessary. It's more tax dollars that, again, is wasted. You know, instead of deploying the National Guard for a regular emergency, and again, DC is at an all-time low. We heard it from the mayor last week. She stated the stats. She read the stats, the percentage. How they're not even getting, they're getting less thefts and murders in a 30-year low. Okay, so this is the lowest it's ever been, you know. So again, so unnecessary. All right, but let's keep going and then we'll go on to the next topic.
Yes, there is crime, but not enough to justify living like this.
National Guard service. I mean, what you're talking about is a civil disturbance. I think what Trump is suggesting that the National Guard is doing is policing. Those are not the same thing as far as what you just described. You seem to say that they have a hands-off approach. That's different from what policing looks like.
I didn't say hands-off. I said well trained.
Well, no, they're not trained.
They are absolutely trained. In fact, every one of those guardsmen that got there, every one of them, no matter what state they came from, every one of them has a pre-deployment training they have to go through. I guarantee you.
Oh, to do what?
to get on the streets and to know exactly how to do crowd control, to know exactly how to do roadside stops, to know exactly how to do augmentation of services for the police force.
Yeah, but these are not,
Provide that
there's
order.
no, I mean, I guess.
They're
what I'm
not
saying
out
is
there.
that
They're not some
we've
hackneyed, jackbooted group out there running
I
streets.
don't think anybody's suggesting that. I'm just saying we've seen the National Guard being used when there are actual civil disturbances. In 2020, we've seen them at a lot of these moments when there have been mass uprisings or protests, and we've seen them in action there. What's happening in DC is that this is a normal city where people are going about their lives every day. And the National Guard troops what they're trying to do, have them do what police are supposed to do, which is to proactively police and patrol cities, which is different from what you're talking about.
It's not.
Here are the facts. When you ask the residents that Trump is claiming to help, they say that they oppose it at a 79% rate. 61% of them feel less safe. When you ask them what they care about the most, it's not homicides, it's not carjackings, it's Trump's occupation of DC. So the question then becomes, who are we helping here? Who are we helping here? The idea that public policy isn't meant to serve the public in DC is absolutely absurd when Trump was claiming he was helping the public. So the question that I then want to ask is, why don't we mobilize the National Guard to the 8 out of 10 red states that are the highest homicide states? If this decreases crime, and that's sufficient enough to mobilize the National Guard against the explicit will of the people of DC, why is the National Guard not marching
people of
through the
DC,
streets?
the law, he was already quoted at the
I'm not talking about the law. I'm
1970.
talking about the
We are
explicit.
talking about the law. But the other thing y'all are doing is misreading the poll. I read the poll. The poll said that 50% of the people who had been polled had seen the security. Of those 50%, 61% said they weren't sure they were happy with it. You boil that down, that means roughly 28% of the whole doesn't like it.
Again,
28%.
you asked, who is it for?
But I think that, hold on, the reason that they ask if you have seen it is because they want to ask people who have actually interacted with the issue, as opposed to just people who have no idea that it's happening. So that's one way to kind of get to that. But one...
Imagine being...
And she's right. I mean, again, it's just, they want to believe what they want to believe. This is all about control, guys, at the end of the day, okay? We say that week after week, and you know why I keep saying that is because it's all about fear. They want to instill more and more fear, and it's not working, okay? It's not working. The residents don't want it. You would think the president would listen to the residents, the people that actually live there. They don't want it. They don't need it, okay? And again, if the National Guard was necessary, then why, when January 6th came, when there was a mob full of people breaking into the White House, for some reason, I don't remember until the last minute they wanted to deploy them, but the whole time those people were going crazy and doing whatever they wanted to do in the White House, you couldn't even find a policeman or the National Guard anywhere, So again, double standard, all right? So anyway, let's get on with the next topic at hand, guys. We're going to talk about judge that's going to rule on Alina Habba's role for the U.S. Attorney General. Come to find out, now this is a Attorney General that Trump, now take it, wanted her to be in. And they're saying allegedly is not legally supposed to be there. So let's go ahead and listen in on this topic, and then we'll break this video down once it's over.
Through how Alina Habba, who's best known as President Trump's former personal attorney, landed in this role, and how this case wound up before a Pennsylvania federal judge.
It really was kind of a shock when the president announced that Alina Habba would become the interim attorney for New Jersey, effective immediately. Those two words, effective immediately, have a sort of relevance in this case because there's a bit of a dispute over exactly what day she became interim U.S. attorney. But she was his personal attorney, actually, by most accounts, had not done a very good job. I mean, she had been sanctioned by judges. She had lost some cases with them. She had been heavily sanctioned by judges. And in New Jersey, she was really known for a controversy involving an employee at Bedminster who was suing for sexual harassment, and alleged Alina Habba befriended her and convinced her to sign an illegal non-disclosure agreement and accept a sum of like $15,000 in order not to sue. She later settled that lawsuit. So it was kind of a shock. Doug Steinhardt had initially been the choice. The state senator had initially been the choice for U.S. attorney in New Jersey. And he dropped out with uncertainty over whether he could be confirmed to the role. It's clear that Alina Habba has almost no chance of confirmation, but what the Trump administration is currently doing are legal maneuvers to try to keep her in the role basically indefinitely without confirmation from the Senate.
So what was your sense sitting in that courtroom about any skepticism this Judge Brand, might have had about these legal maneuvers that you're referencing?
So it could be hard at times whether he's asking the question as devil's advocate or expressing his own opinion as to the merits of an argument. So with that caveat in there, it was very hard to read how he felt about designating Habba as acting U.S. attorney after her role as interim U.S. attorney expired. And they did that through a maneuver by firing the first assistant U.S. attorney, a widely respected person who Habba had actually appointed to that role, and placing Habba in there so she would automatically assume the U.S. acting U.S. attorney position. That acting U.S. attorney position has a further time limit on it of 210 days. Now, I had a hard time reading where the judge came down on that maneuver, but where he seemed by his questioning and also a previous opinion he had written a couple weeks ago, he seemed especially skeptical of another argument from the Trump administration, which is that Alina Habba has been appointed special attorney, and that
why does that distinction matter? Yeah.
Because there's no timeline on this. There's no time limit on a special attorney. So they're basically saying she can be in charge of the office, even if her title isn't technically acting U.S. attorney, once that time expires, for an unlimited amount of time. And this is what the judge really seemed skeptical of based on his line of questioning. He was basically saying, if that's the case, and you can have someone in there effectively permanently without Senate confirmation, then what's the point of the law that even limits them? Or what's the point of even appointing one of confirmation? And I think what really speaks to that is there was a law passed in 2006, it was an update to the Patriot Act, that did make interim U.S. attorneys permanent. That law, following a U.S. attorney scandal, if you're old like me, you might remember this scandal in 2006, where there was a lot of questions about politicization of U.S. attorneys. Congress actually went back and reinstated the 120-day limit on interim U.S. attorney appointments. And so there's a very clear argument, and one that I think the judge also took seriously, that clearly congressional intent is that these people have limits on opinion.
Yeah.
The judge...
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. And see, this is the thing. He wanted her appointed, but you see how they changed the title of her job description, right? She's a special attorney, okay? So if she's a special U.S. attorney, that means she has no expiration date. But if she was just a regular U.S. attorney, then she would have her regular term, which means that she would probably be gone by now, So again, they make exceptions when they want to make exceptions. They change the rules when they want to change the rules. It's just that simple. You heard it from him. Even the judge seems kind of skeptical at this point. Okay? Again, where did this term come from? Okay, special U.S. general. Oh, she's special, huh? But I mean, that's what it is. It's y'all know what I'm talking about. It's always they do what they feel they can get away with. You know what I'm saying? If it was us, and y'all know what I'm talking about, there's no way they would bend the rules. So, but anyway, let's move on to the last topic at hand. We're going to talk about Jasmine Crockett. She's going to tell you how she feels about everything that's been going on with the Trump administration and how she feels about all of everything. So let's get going, and then we'll break this video down once it's over.
Interest rate that's really, really low. How low? This low. The credit card that's...
So what do you say about all that?
So I absolutely believe that they're trying to get it to the Supreme Court. They are trying to hopefully create new precedents. They are consistently trying to go to the Supreme Court and have them decimate what is left of the Voting Rights Act. It is why the Alabama case is headed back, or is it Louisiana? One of the two. It's headed back to the Supreme Court now. And we know that this same makeup of the Supreme Court is the one that said, hey, Louisiana, 30% of your state is black folk. And you only have an opportunity for one seat to be elected by black folk. You need another one. Same thing they said for Alabama. So what did they do? This Supreme Court said under the Voting Rights Act, you've got to have 2 seats. Now, these are different seats than a coalition seat. But the thing is, they keep misinterpreting the Fifth Circuit Court opinion by saying that it is saying that they are illegal. It wasn't about disbanding these coalition seats. It was about whether or not the creation of them enjoys the same protections as the creation used to. That is what it was about. So what they've decided to do is disband them and hope that the court agree that yes, you can disband them, because the Fifth Circuit never said that. The Fifth Circuit said, we won't necessarily recognize the creation of new ones.
So 2 more questions. I appreciate your time as always. You were in the Texas House back in 2021, the last time there was a quorum break.
Yeah.
And this time around, we have seen Republicans react more aggressively to try to enforce the quorum. We've seen daily fines now, $500. We've seen DPS going around and searching for any Democrats in Texas, putting out a tip line now for any sightings, saying that all those investigative costs are going to be incurred by the Democrats who left the state. We've seen this lawsuit by Governor Abbott and the Attorney General against 13 Democrats, plus the lawsuit about fundraising against former Congressman Beto O'Rourke. What do you make of all this?
I think that it all comes from the top. These people are lawless. It is amazing how you can spend these types of resources going after duly elected people who have decided that their oath meant that they would look to the Constitution.
But is it lawless when it's in the Texas Constitution that they can pretty much enforce quorum breaking or, enforce a quorum?
They can enforce a quorum, but also in the Constitution it says that you can break quorum. That is my whole point.
It's enabled.
Right. I mean, it's the fact that it's mentioned in the Constitution obviously says that this is a tool that you can use. This isn't something that they made up out of thin air. This is what the Constitution says. And so you have people, and this isn't the first quorum break, it's not the second quorum break, it's not the third quorum break. So we know that these Texans have decided that this is what they need to do to make sure that they are representing for their districts. But when you look at this administration, and I'm talking about on the federal level, consistently puts more energy into going after political opponents than, say, going after people that are harming us. Mm-hmm. That is why it is so rich that they want to talk about, oh, let's go and hunt them down and let's expend all these energies on going after duly elected members of the House. But we didn't see this energy when it came down to the Epstein files. Somehow no one was in an uproar when they decided to run away from Congress early so that they could avoid voting on the release of the Epstein files that are with the FBI. So while the FBI is supposedly wasting resources going and looking for duly elected members of the Texas House, they probably could be doing what the American people asked them to do, which was to focus on the Epstein files. I promise you, if I ran a poll right now and I asked the American people, which one are you more interested in seeing? The Epstein files or somehow these Texans getting back to Texas when guess what? Texans didn't ask to be redistricted. The rest of the country didn't ask that Texas be redistricted. The president didn't run on redistricting Texas. The president is rogue and out of control, and he knows that if things keep going the way that they're going, where Republicans can't even show up and see their own constituents because their constituents are running them out of the auditoriums because of these failed, terrible policies that are about to hit hard, he doesn't want accountability. Mm-hmm. Well, in America, where we believe in democracy, that is what elections are for. They are for accountability. I expect if I don't do right by my district, that they would vote me out. And guess what? Since they are not doing right by this country and their constituents, because these hits that we're about to experience, they're not just going to be rural hits. They're not just going to be urban hits. They're not just going to be Democratic, Republican, or Independent. It's going to hit all of us. So long as you are not a top 1%er. Your healthcare premiums, if you are able to have healthcare, it's going up. The cost of your food, if you are able to afford it in general, the cost is going up. Mm-hmm. Our farmers, they are at more risk than they were before because of these failed trade policies. as well as so many other things. The cost of education, because they want to get rid of the Department of Education and reduce the amount of funding that students are able to get. Listen, I am telling you that we are in a hair on fire situation. And because he lost so badly in 2018, because he was such a terrible president for the first 2 years, and ultimately, in my opinion, the entire 4 years, he doesn't want to endure the backlash. He doesn't want us to open the investigations to find out about his $400 million plane. He doesn't want us to find out what's going on with Maxwell and why somehow she has been given work release and relocated to this minimum security facility in Texas. He doesn't want us to answer the questions about his crypto and the schemes where he is enriching himself with businesses. He doesn't want that, but I got news for him. I don't believe that people are going to be so caught up on partisanship when it comes to the midterm. I think that there will be a lot of people that will show up, even Republicans, that at least want a check.
Last question. U.S. Senate race. There are rumblings that I'm hearing that, maybe are you considering a run for U.S. Senate here? We saw a poll, yes, it was by the Senate Republicans, that you were ahead in that one poll, 35% over Colin Allred and former Congressman Beto O'Rourke. Is this something you're considering?
For me, I got to focus on saving this district. So that is my focus.
So that's a definite no?
I am focused on saving the district.
And so no plans to run for U.S. Senate?
Not at this moment.
Okay. Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman from Dallas. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
She hit it right on the head. I'm telling you, that girl is sharp. Jasmine is sharp, y'all. And she said it right. What about them Epstein files? You see how they just turn the page and let's not talk about that right now, okay? People are wanting to know why. Why are you running away from that topic? Okay, we're still waiting, guys. But anyway, I hope everybody has enjoyed the show. Let's give it up for tonight. Yes, we will be back on Saturday for the relationship entertainment, y'all. And guess what? I have decided to put a new channel for the fun and entertainment with T. Come check me out on Saturday. I'm going to be uploading the entertainment and dating on a separate channel. So y'all follow me on that side. And we're going to keep this channel specifically for sports and politics, all right? Where we're going to get more into the NFL and we're going to cover more in the political arena. Okay, so we're going to have two channels. One, which is fun and entertainment with T. And I've already started that channel that you're going to start seeing videos on Saturday, this coming Saturday at 8 p.m. So follow me over there, guys. And also, we're going to be covering, like I said, the NFL. We did the sports scores for this week, and we're going to be posting those on next Tuesday for the following week. All right? But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this show. If you enjoyed the content, please hit like, share, and subscribe. And also, if you can, please hit the notification bell. That way you won't miss any episodes every time I come on to YouTube. All right. I am enjoying myself. As you can see, I still got my equipment. Thank God it came in finally. But anyway, y'all, I hope to see y'all back on Saturday again for 8 p.m. But again, follow me back on Fun and Entertainment with T. Okay, that's my second channel. We're going to keep things separate because I thought about, not migrating so much on one channel. So my fun channel is going to be that, and then the sports and politics is going to be on this channel. Okay? All right, guys, so I will see everybody at 8 o'clock. Everybody enjoy the rest of your week. Again, let's give it up. And everybody have a great rest of your week. See you at Saturday at 8 p.m. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.